Test, test, test. Okay. Just give it a couple minutes and then we'll get going on it. Let's see. I figured it might be a little bit slim today, slim pickings, just because it's Labor Day weekend, and I would imagine some of them maybe headed up to the mountains or headed out, got out of town. With it being the official end of summer, right? Even though with winter. I know, right? Well, I think this is gonna what? With these 90-degree temps today, tomorrow, and Monday, I think that's gonna put us officially at the highest or the hottest summer on record since they started tracking. No, it was early, way earlier than that, like in the 20s or 30s, I heard. Yeah, so pretty darn warm though. So, needless to say. So you missed last week, so let me get you the handout that we used last week, so that you have it for reference. I figured we're gonna try to do this a little bit earlier today, but I forgot that I had leased the space out, so that's why we're on normal time. But
I said, oh my God, it's 11:30 already? I'm only halfway through.
I know, right?
Well, Mr. Isaiah, you have a good day.
Is horse stance technically supposed to be like a sideways stance? Like the opponent right there?
No, I mean, it's just, I mean, a lot of times we're always looking to the side because I can take a chair chang. Right. All right. When we do in kumgang, which is secondary pumse, same thing when we step. Boom. We're in a horse riding stance here when we're straight. All right. Go to parallel stance, but then we're looking. So it's both.
I never really thought about the applicability of it being a sideways stance.
Mm-hmm.
I always learned as like,
oh yeah, like straight in front. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And we do it in like the three-step sparring too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even register until I saw it.
Yeah. Well, the problem is a lot of times because, you know, theoretically, right, when we're doing that block, right, we're blocking directly in front. So the tendency is to block, to look straight ahead. When in reality, we should be looking at our opponent, right? Yeah. So that's the key. So, yep.
Forward cross stance, is that the...
That's the one where that's in Chirchang, where you come forward.
Yeah.
1, 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kumga or Koryo, front cross stance, where you step in front for the side kick.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the other ones are back cross. So that's Ojang, Chirchang. Crane is the Hakdari Sogi, yep. So here, yep. This is in Kumgang. So have a great weekend, sir. Enjoy. Have fun with your new toys. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started on some of the details. So the assisted stance is basically, it's found in, is it Chungkwan or Hansu? So it's kind of like a crane stance, but the leg is like tucked behind here. So, yeah. So it's one of the high level black belt pumse. So you don't really see, you won't see it unless you're in the art for a while. Uh-huh. Mm. So, all right. So we're gonna work over a blocking technique today. Just kind of go over the basics. The thing that we want to make sure when we're working with the students on blocking technique is that depending on the levels and the ages, right? Those youngsters basically up to about 9, so forth, we just really want to work on just single hand, making sure that they're getting a full motion. So if they're doing a low block or a down block, here, starting from the shoulder coming down. You know, this gets really confusing for the kids when you start telling them to do both hands. Whereas with like, once they get into double digits, 10 and up, we should be really concentrating on both hands, utilizing the pull here. And then as we get higher with teenagers and adults, right, it's not just this motion here where we're just concentrating on the block itself. We're also working on this chamber hand. So what you'll notice, like, especially with athletes, and I'm going to show you a video of a couple of the Pumse athletes, when they do their blocks, you're going to notice they're very explosive. They're very strong. And it's not only, it's because of how fast they bring it down, but as well, they're pulling at the same time. So it's, you're going to see a lot of this motion when they do their movements. So it's a combination of utilizing not just the single hand, but understanding that, you know, in order to have a strong block, you have to have that reactionary force, which is the pullback that creates that energy, because you're drawing energy here through the shoulder into this at the same time. It's all right, no worries. All right, we're just getting started. We just started talking. So just talking the low block or the down block. And as I was telling the gentleman here, when you're working, the easiest thing is if they're in single digits for age, we just start with single hand motion. So, you know, if they're doing a low block, here. They're doing an inner block, here. They're doing a knife hand block. We want to make sure they're kind of getting the right motion, because a lot of times what happens is, especially like with the knife hand block, we get to that point where when we do the knife hand, when you see kids do knife hand block, they just tend to come straight across, or sometimes they'll do it this way. So we want to try to get them to bring it around in a circle, or at least even from the shoulder across that part. For these are all the single age or single digit age kids, all right? Unless they're obviously higher ranks and so forth. But most of the kids, we want to get them started on this process here, where they learn to come across and they turn that hand completely to the front. So, all right, let's go back real quick, specifically for low block, all right? We start at the shoulder, we come down. The block itself is going to finish at the side of your body line. So we don't want the block to finish in front. We don't want to finish past our body line. We actually want it to be directly over our leg, okay? Couple of things to keep in mind, depending on the stance that you're performing the block in, whether it's walking stance or front stance, the angle of the arm should mimic the top part of your thigh on a front stance. So it should be parallel, all right? They should be parallel. When we're in the walking stance position, the whole leg is straight, right? So the arm and the leg should be parallel. Does that make sense? So from a side view, it should be this, and then from a front stance, it should be this. That way you can kind of see the dual parallel angles, okay? Now for the dual age, you know, the double A, you know, basically 10 and up, we start working on both hands, utilizing both hands. So obviously the younger students, you know, the 10 to probably 14-year-olds, they're going to just kind of really concentrate on this part. They'll do this pretty well. All right, we have to start getting them to learn, and then as adults, we need to work on our retraction hand, that retracting hand. So obviously Mr. Dason already knows this because he's on Pumse team. Pumse team, we work on this a lot to develop that strength and that speed, being able to pull back just as strong as you're coming forward, channeling that energy, maximizing the power in that technique. And as well, the rotating of the wrist. So as teenagers and adults, we really want to concentrate on making sure, because a lot of times, when they're doing this, they do this, but then they forget about twisting this hand too. So we start the chamber here for the low block, the proper chamber, pinky on top, thumb on the bottom by the belt. So it's this motion here. The bottom hand comes across to the side. All right, doesn't finish here. That's the other thing. You're going to pull it all the way to the side, and then top hand comes down. All right. So when you're working with them, a lot of times, once again, this is a ton of information for some students. So, the first thing, go back to the way we teach, the 3 phases of learning, right? Get the movement down first. So as long as they're doing this part here, starting from the shoulder down, that's the most important part, right? Because a lot of times when they're doing pumse, you see kids, they just do this, right? They just drop. They're not bringing it down. So we want to make sure that this is the first part of down block or the low block that we want to concentrate on. It's making sure it starts from the shoulder and comes down. So we want to see this downward movement versus just sticking my arm up. Okay. So that's the first step. Then the second step is, right, wrist position, right? So instead of flat here, down, pinky, and then rotate, pinky and rotate. So you're going to notice as we practice and you do these blocks, you're going to start getting more snap and more power into your technique when you have that ability to rotate that wrist, all right? So one of the things that I learned in one of my seminars was how a friend of mine, the person that was teaching it, he would do this while he was working. He was just standing around. He would just practice working on this torque, right? Because this is what gives that snap, right? Versus just this. There's a lot more power when you rotate that wrist. It hurts. You have to build up a tolerance for it. Oh yeah. But you're gonna feel, if you do this a lot, you start to feel like the arm and the elbow joints start feeling really sore because you're not used to putting that much force into it. All right. So whether you're coming inward or even outward, it's the same thing. All right. So people would look at him. He said he was sitting in the elevator waiting to go up to his like 50 floors. He would just be doing this, and people would be kind of moving to the side, but. He's a high-level athlete, though. He's a high-level athlete. So what he's doing is, he's working a day job and being a high-level athlete. So he's trying to maximize whatever free time he has to perfect his craft. So one of the easiest things is, what do you do standing in an elevator? You just stand there. So instead of looking at his phone, he's doing this. He's just doing this or doing this. Any moment that you get, because he's constantly applying his everyday life into what he can put into his Taekwondo, and improve it. All right. Now for us, I don't expect us to go to those deep extremes, but for you as an instructor, when you think about, okay, I've learned something new, how do you apply it? How are you going to remember it the next time that you're faced with that? Because I throw a lot of information at you guys. How much of it gets retained, all right? It's so a lot of times you're gonna have to find time, you're gonna have to make some time doing these blocks, and practicing torquing and making that thing strong. So with the down block, so we wanna finish, right? They usually say, 2 fists above the leg is where the ending point is. But like I say, I like to think of it as the angle of the leg and the hand angle should be the exact same. All right. Here for walking stance down block. Here for front stance down block. So, okay. All right. The second block is the inner block or the outside in block. So the biggest thing from here is we want students to start from the side, at least the side. So we want to start it here and bring it around. 1, 2. The thing about this is you'll notice certain students, those that are pretty limber in the upper body, they tend to lead with their elbow. So when they do the block, it looks like this. Okay. It should really theoretically be led by the fist. So what we want to think about is if you were to do both inner blocks together, okay, from here, we want the natural position of our shoulder here to be the ending point, just like this. So there's going to be a slight angle, right? If you squeeze, right, now you're putting work into this, okay? Now you're manipulating your body, okay? So here, just natural position, right? You get your angle, which is 90 degrees up to 120 degrees on the angle from the fist to the shoulder, okay? So that angle, whatever it is, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, but you want to be natural position. So you don't want to feel like you're squeezing, right, or lifting, holding up, right? Just let the elbows kind of sag down, right, in a comfortable position. So there's going to be space in between the elbows, okay? There'll be space, okay? So that's where our inner block is going to be, boom, here. So we just need to make sure that we bring that to the line. So we want that fist to come to that lifeline from our nose down to our belt. So 1, 2, all right? And then basically, so for the little ones, for, single age kids, we just want them to turn and block. So it looks like this, all right? For the the dual digit kids, right? Now we start to think about, okay, let's turn the wrist and bring it around. Turn the wrist and bring it around. Maybe teach them to kind of reach back a little bit. Okay. Teenagers, now we start to incorporate the opposite hand. Opposite hand is straight, back hand is out. So your starting chambering position should be like this, here. All right. So the more we can get a turn on that wrist, the stronger that block will be. All right, from here, that's okay. If you can open it up a little bit more, you can bring it around a little bit more. So this motion here. And then once again, with especially the higher ranks in adults, working on that pull back. 1, 2. Yes, sir.
Is that the volume of movement?
Yes, sir.
Getting as much movement
Correct. Correct. Yep. Volume of movement. Yeah. So everything that we do, you'll see people going back to the down block or the low block, right? You see people doing it from here, doing it from here. Yeah. And that works. It's just not as strong, right? You think about it. It's just from here, it's stronger, right? Here, it's stronger, right? It's the same thing. You'll see some people, they turn the shoulder a little bit, right? To get a little bit more volume versus some people just do this, right? Others, you see how just that little shoulder turn adds more volume to the movement, gives you more strength. So, and you'll see that when I pop a video on, show you some of these athletes, some of them will rotate, some of them here, but you'll see a lot of them, most of them right up here. They're going to start it from here. They're not going to start it from here at all. Or you're not going to see them go just like this. So, okay. All right. So next one is knife hand block, basic block, knife hand. So the knife hand block, one of the most important things that you want to do is hand positioning for knife hand. You see a lot of this for knife hand, where the thumb is on the inside. All right? We want to make sure that the thumb is to the side. Preferably, I know some kids are so worried about tucking the thumb. They're trying to bend and tuck. So when they bend and tuck, it goes inside. We don't want that. We just want it straight like this. This is a knife hand, theoretically. All right? So we want the thumb up against the side of the fingers this way. All right? So there should be no space in between. Some kids, they try to do the Spock, or, all right, pinky sticks out, there's spacing here. All right? So we want to make sure they work on this part here. Okay? The other thing we want to make sure is that when they do the block itself, the palm is facing their opponent. So it's not this way. So a lot of times if you're my opponent, right, some people do the block this way, where the blade of the hand, the pinky is closer to the the target. All right, it should be turned all the way. Okay. Now, once again, going back to that angle, the arm angle should be between 90 degrees and 120. Okay, so, right, this angle here from the shoulder to the fingers should be 90 to 120 degrees. Now, what happens a lot of times is wrist. People go too far on the angle here, too flat on the angle, and then they just kind of cock the wrist back so that it looks like a knife hand. But as you can see, there's a distinct bend here. All right? We don't want that bend. There should not be a bend. It should be completely straight. All right? So if with it being straight, right, they have to pull the entire arm back in, right? So that you get that angle. And what that forces is, it forces the elbow down, okay? Because a lot of times when they're doing knife hand, right, the elbow sticks out to the side. We want them to bring it down. Bring the elbow down in here. Why? Right? Now, you've got additional block material, just in case you miss with your knife hand. You can block with the forearm here and still be protecting. All right, because here, if we think about here, if I'm doing a knife hand here, this whole bottom part of my body is exposed. If I bring it in here closer now, right, now I've protected this a little bit better. I've got my arm in here to at least withhold something versus here. All right, so keep that in mind. We want to make sure that that elbow is bent and kind of pushed down a little bit. So when we're really practicing this, so on the advanced level for like teenagers and adults, right? That knife hand's going to actually start from the belt. It's going to come up your shoulder line, your opposite shoulder line, and then you'll rotate and turn and out. So, yep. Okay. So it's a slight circular motion, right? It's almost that old Ralph Macchio Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. The only difference is, right, wax on, wax off, there's no rotation in the wrist. It's just turn, turn, right? For us, we rotate the wrist. So we start with palm up at the belt, and then as we come up, we're looking at our hand, and then we come across. So turn. That way you get that rotation. Once again, we go back to this twist motion to get some of that power, that impact here. Now the opposite hand, your reactionary force hand. Fist, what we call the eye of your fist, which is where the thumb and your index finger are, that part, right up here. All right, like you're doing a low block. So right up by the shoulder, bottom hand here. That's your chamber position here. And then from here, you come up, 2. 1 and 2. So it's a circular motion. This hand just comes straight down. 1, 1. When you finish the block, once again, finish to the side of your body line. So whatever it is. So if I'm sideways this way in the front stance, I want to finish here. I don't want to finish out here, past my body line. Everything's within the body line. Okay. All right. High block position, the same thing. Your high block and your knife hand block hand positions are the exact same. It's just fisted. All right. So your high block is just going to come from the belt up, just like knife hand. We came up here, just going to move it straight up. Okay. So 1, 1. All right. Top hand, that reactionary force hand is still the eye of the fist down to the belt. When you do your high block, once again, right, you rotate the wrist and you turn it out. Now, we want to make sure with the kids, right, they lift is fine. We want to make sure that they're not flat. A lot of kids just lift to here, or they lift and put it above their head. Okay, we don't want that. We actually want it out in front. So an easy little exercise to teach the kids, tell them that they're a four-horn unicorn. All right, so middle of their forehead, place their thumb. And then spread out their fingers as wide as they can, a handspan. All right? And so where their pinky is, that's where you put your wrist. That's where you put your wrist. Okay? So then that gives me this angle here. So they, in theory, should be able to see an outline of their arm as they're looking straight ahead. All right? If it's here, they can't see the outline of the arm. As they're looking straight ahead, they should be able to, using the peripheral vision, you should be able to see the outline of your arm. Okay? All right. The other thing too is you want to make sure that there's no line in the wrist, because a lot of times, especially when you start to go up here, you see a lot of this, right? Where basically there's a bend in the wrist, basically. So you want to think about here, right? It's like a punch. When we punch, it's a straight line, right? So when we do the high block or the rising block, it's going to be, you're just bending the wrist and then you're just kind of tilting your wrist. So this line here where the wrist is should be straight. There should be no bend either way, right? It should be like if I were to do a punch, it should be straight. I'm just tilting in and I'm lifting up, right? So we want the fingernails facing, the fingernails of the fist facing my opponent here, or the thumb pointed down. The wrist should be in line with your lifeline. So the wrist should be in line with your nose, neck, chest, belt. Okay. Wrist should be higher than the elbow as well. Okay. All right. Let's see, one more basic block. Guarding block, all right? Your fighting stance guarding block movement. So your guarding block movement is, in essence, a forearm block and a support here, okay? So your forearm block comes just like your knife hand block. Comes up and across. This is a dual hand block, right? We have a few dual hand blocks where we use both hands at the same time, okay? So in theory, we don't have a reaction force where one's pulling back and the other one's moving forward, like a single-handed block. Usually in a dual-handed block, both are moving in the same direction. Now, the thing that you want to understand is it's hard for people to do two different things with the hands, all right? It's either one or the other. I want to go straight, or I want to go circle with both, okay? It takes a lot of practice to get both. Get the front hand as a circle, back hand is straight. All right? 1, 2. This motion. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, so once again, this forearm block, the front forearm block, single forearm, is just like your knife hand block. Comes up the shoulder line and across to the body. 1. Your backhand basically starts off like your inner block, like you're going to do an inner block, but you're just going to come down to your chest area. What we want to make sure is this hand that's back at my chest. We want to make sure that the wrist of that hand is in line with the solar plexus or your lifeline. So we want it here. And for most people, what that's going to do is if you look from a side view, when they're here like this, it's going to be a straight line basically from the shoulder down to the elbow. Right? If it's too far back, then you have an angle. Right? Too far forward doesn't look right. So you want to make sure that it's almost straight. You know, there are exceptions, of course. There are people that have gorilla arms, right? Long forearms, right? Or long top part of your arms and stuff. And so it's not always proportional. Okay, so typically we want a right angle. All right, so we don't want it down or up. Okay, we don't want it down or up like this. 90-degree angle this way. Okay. And then basically, it's not touching your chest. This hand in the back is not touching your chest at all. It should be out. There should be space. All right. Basically, you should be able to get your fingers across in space, so it's not touching. A lot of people touch. Yeah, you don't want to touch. All right. You want it out. A little bit of a shock absorber so that you can tighten up, right? It's hard to tighten up, you know, get a brunt. So here, at least you can collapse and tighten it up, fight it a little bit. So, okay. And that's the same thing with the double knife hand guarding block. All right. So double knife hand guard, same thing. Circle. The problem is as we start to do this, we have to maintain this big circle on the knife hand. All right. A lot of times because both hands are working now, that front hand gets really small. That circle gets really small. So we want the circle to stay big. It just has to move faster, move quicker. All right.
Which hand goes in the front? The front arm that rotates over the other one, or does it rotate under the other one?
No, well, it's not going to, right? If you think about it, right? Because your hands already move, right? So it doesn't. If you're slow, then yes, then you're going, okay, which hand's on top? Yeah. Because both hands are moving together at the same time. It's just, once again, because this is a linear movement, it's slower. It's slightly slower. This one's a circular movement. That's got to go much quicker. All right. So, okay. All right. So, all right. So what I want to do is I want you guys to kind of practice a little bit. Working on these, right? So that way we can kind of go through those details and make sure. And once again, you can start however you want. If you just want to start with a single hand, it's always a good thing. All right. Working that rotation. So you're going to notice that pretty much every block that we do, every strike that we do, we're going to have some sort of a wrist rotation, whether it's open or closing it. That rotation is going to occur with everything that we do. Okay. All right. So let's get to work a little bit. So I'm going to do a little bit. Otherwise, my teenagers are going to fall asleep. So. No, the Geritol group I think is up. It's just, you just stiffen up. Geritol group gets a little stiff. Stiffen up, so you might as well move and get those bodies. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so basically if you're looking from the side view at the mirror, all right, just look for that angle. You can kind of see that front angle, that leg, and then your arm should kind of mimic that. It's going to adjust a slight, but. So remember those low blocks or the down blocks, take it to the side body line, right? Now, you were here last week. You got to fix those stances, sir. Come on now. Oh, is that what it was? Got it.
How many years?
I know. Hey, man, I had to change 36 years of training.
You are a master.
So it's just repetition. Yeah. The other thing too is as we do blocks, the timing is very important. So when we talk about timing is as your feet sit into that stance, that technique has to come out. That technique has to come out at the same time. So you tend to not finish. Yeah, tend to be inside.
I'm always like thinking.
Yeah, but see, if I'm kicking here, right, where's your block start from? It starts from here. So now what I'm doing, see, if you don't do that, if you only stop there, you're going to, right? That's why, because if you even stop here and you got me here, I'm going to get you, right? Yes. Because it's all this is a redirecting, right? The low block just redirects that kick, that forward kick towards you, right? So you have gravity on your side, which helps. And just like I said before too, as well, right? As higher ranks, as black belts, right? We want to make sure we're working that pull at the same time, right? So you want to think like I'm trying to pull back into an elbow strike when I'm doing my down block, my low block, right? Or, yeah, go ahead.
For that outside in, is it kind of just following the line of your body where it finishes up?
Similar, yes. Basically, you want to start when you pull back. The starting point should be right at about cheek level to eye level, and then as you bring it around, it'll end up shoulder height.
So you feel like front stance though would end up like right here?
No. It's yeah. So right, which direction am I facing? Right. So yeah. So whichever direction am I facing. So if I'm doing it in like in take a air chung where we do it cross leg, right? Right leg, left hand, right? I want to go to basically whichever direction I'm facing. I want to go to my body line. So I don't want to turn and face this way, right? I'm facing this way, so I want it here. Here.
Okay, so it doesn't like really matter necessarily which stance you're using. You just aim the stance at your person and aim the block.
Correct. Correct.
differential to your stance.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so you always want to make sure that everything is toward the opponent.
So enough bend that way,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. The tendency, like I said, you see a lot. This is mostly with kids and girls. They do this. Yeah, they lead with the. No, you won't. Right? For guys, for us, right? You can't. Unless you're really forcing it, right? All right. If you're strengthening if you're utilizing your fist, right? Fist part, then the elbow doesn't come in the way. All right. You take away this when you lead with the elbow. It's not as effective when you lead with the elbow. All right? You should be leading with the fist. The fist. One. Yeah, because you lead with the elbow. You lead it with the elbow instead of with the fist. Fist. All right?
What makes which one's that? Is that Sajong? Where you do like the hit and then like the back.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep.
I'm glad I came today.
Yeah. All right. I always equate this inner block like you're playing cymbals. Right? Like you're that, the toy monkey that hits those cymbals. Boom, right? Cymbals open, cymbals close. Boom. 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 All right? That's the kind of the motion that we're trying to get. That's what we're trying to achieve. All right? One. Okay. And then the other, so like with the dual-handed blocks, the double knife hand and double forearm or the guarding block. Once again, we want to make sure that this is parallel with the ground. The arm is parallel with the ground, the backhand. I like to equate it to, carrying the TV, holding up the TV, all right? Or holding the baby, holding the baby, not dropping the baby, not suffocating the baby.
So in that case, sir, should the backhand be open?
Double knife hand, yes. Yeah, both. Yep. And fisted for double forearm. Yeah, it gets really tricky.
I mean, I practice this in my own time, but
It's hard. I mean, it's hard, because
there's a lot to keep in mind.
well, yeah, exactly, right? It's not, normally we simplify it, right? Right? Make everything linear or make everything circular because it's a lot easier that way. And it works. I mean, you can do it all circular, but once again, we're teaching to a standard. We're teaching to a World Taekwondo standard. This is the way that they have chosen to do this. And I understand their logic because you do the single hand, right? If you're doing two hands, why would you change the single hand technique? So you're just building off of that. So, and that's the same thing with everything that they're doing now is they try to teach it in a single manner. So, like with front kick, right? Front snap kick, boom. When they talk about roundhouse kick, they say, okay, it's a turned front kick, right? So now it's still a front kick, just knees sideways now. All right. Once again, keeping the concept. We're just building, right? We're building off the foundation. All right.
Easier to teach that way.
It is. And they've got a self-defense curriculum now that they've done because for years there's been complaints about, oh yeah, Taekwondo. Everyone says, oh, Taekwondo's a self-defense martial art. It's not. We teach people. We teach you how to kick, right? We teach you how to kick, right? But we don't teach you how to apply it into real life, right? And so when I took my master's course 2 years ago, this crash course that we did, we had a 4-hour session in self-defense. And literally it was we learned 6 techniques in 4 hours, right? And all it was a build. It was a build off of a parry. So someone reaches to grab you, you parry. You parry with a knife hand, right? You parry with a knife hand. That's what it started off as, all right? You did the parry. You did a strike second time. Parry, strike, right? Parry, strike, grab. Parry, strike, grab. Parry, strike, grab, strike, right? Parry, strike, grab, strike, takedown, right? And so basically, and then what they said was when you teach this, you teach it in that same way. You teach everyone the first movement, the basic, the parry. Step forward and block the attack, right? Because we're always teaching to move back. In self-defense, you can't always move back, right? Sometimes you have to step in. Because why? Right? That catches your opponent off guard, right? Natural tendency for people when they get uncomfortable is to back up, retreat, maintain space. All right? We always tell ladies in self-defense class, maintain your personal space. Don't allow people to get here, right? You want to maintain that personal space. So you make sure that, right, if they step forward, you step back. Always keep an eye on them. All right? And so guess what? Most people know that. Common sense says, oh yeah, you know, we tend to do that. If there's someone that you don't like and they come really up close to you, yeah, you tend to, right? That indirect body language is like, oh, you know, walking away, trying to create that space. Exactly, right? And so knowing that, right, people will react to that. But then if you step into them as they're coming forward, you catch them off guard. And that's the premise, right? Is when you're thinking about self-defense, you can't be conventional because it doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to be unconventional.
You can't just start doing some jump with them.
No, right, exactly, right? And you know, the other thing too is there was a lot of talk about, you know, how, you know, people train barefooted and all the stuff like that, right? And people don't, when they put shoes on, they don't know how, they forget how to kick.
It's true.
They forget how to kick.
Well, it's heavier now.
That too, right? You know, they forget some of that stuff. They don't know how to pivot with shoes on, right? Because why? There's grip, right? We train, oh yeah, you know, pivot here. And for those that are heavy, it hurts. You know, it takes a lot. And, you know, they get, you know, they cut their toes or whatever, you know, split their calluses and things like that. But then what happens when they're wearing boots, right? They do it, but also too, right? But it puts a lot of friction, right? Because they haven't learned how to get on the ball of their foot, right? Right? But it's hard because why? For you guys don't, you know, you have kind of long toes, so it kind of, sometimes your toes get stuck. Mr. Hammer has that problem. Tall people, tall, lanky people have that problem. Their toes are like fingers, right? And so when they're rotating on that, the finger digs into the pad and it doesn't want to move. And then pretty soon now it separates, right? And so what do they do to make up for that? Heal. And once again, they get away with it for a while, but if they study for an extended period of time doing it that way, why does my back hurt? Why does my knee hurt? Why does my hip hurt? Yeah. You know, that's the one thing. It's very difficult. So we have to be very cognizant of, you know, the ability levels of the people that we're working with. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I mean, this is so much to think about. I mean, they can. The other thing too is like we have people that have bad knees, right? So what do? I tell them to step out, open. That way you're not doing the full brunt of a pivot, right? Open. And then only have to pivot for 20 degrees, 25 degrees.
Would that be also helpful for then people with like the longer toes as well? So
Absolutely. Shoes do to an extent, but yeah, and it's good from a psychological standpoint too, you know, but
Taekwondo shoes at least.
yeah.
They will fit it easier than like 10 shoes.
Yeah, they will, definitely. The only problem with that is, once again, that's an additional cost.
When you don't wear them,
Yeah.
you're always going to get attacked when you don't have them on.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get my Taekwondo shoes.
Yeah. Or the reverse. I'm so used to kicking barefoot. Hold on. Let me take my shoes off.
I have to like both stars. Hold on.
Yeah.
Take the shirt off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're creatures of habit. So, for us, it's hard. Like, we talk about these blocks. People don't understand the blocking aspect of it because they don't train it. We don't train full speed. Like, we don't train full speed self-defense technique. We don't train, okay, I'm going to throw a full speed punch at you. I want you to block it. Because there's a pain factor that's associated with it. Because you can't practice soft. You really can't practice full speed and soft. Yeah. But even with the guards, it hurts. It hurts. There's, as black belts, we'll experiment with some of that, but we're not going to do a lot of it because why? Once people start to feel pain, then they don't want to train anymore. I mean, that's what it boils down to, right? Yeah. Think about it, right? I mean, for you, you tweaked your leg and it was a bad tweak. You didn't want to train. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one thing we don't want to put that fear in there. And that, the self-defense is a piece. So when I talk about the program, when I'm selling the program, I don't sell this as a self-defense art. I say what this is health and life skills. All right. We're going to teach you some self-defense. All right. But that's not the focus of this. Our focus is life skills, respect, discipline, self-confidence, those types of things, right? Those life skills, as well as, once again, fitness, right? Health. So she left you. So, but yeah, so it's one of those things where, I mean, I used to cater it to that, but then I realized I wasn't training to that.
You're going to get a small number of people that show up for it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I mentioned, guys. People that like abuse. I mean, we used to do that though. We used to practice when we,
Mm-hmm.
like in 1990 something. We would just, we'd get in the stance, we'd come forward, punch, and make people do that inward block.
Mm-hmm.
He made us do contact.
Yep.
It wasn't supposed to be full, but like you said, it's hard.
Yep.
And if you're doing partials, if you're doing the quickness, and now you're trying to time, not hitting them hard.
Yep.
It was really difficult.
We had basically it was usually late night, like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. All right, the contact class. All right, this is where, right, you were taking contact. You were getting kicked. Right, we were doing full speed punches and learning how to block full speed punches. Yeah. All right. Once again, it's the school of hard knocks, right? Old school, right? It's a no pain, no gain mentality, which is totally wrong if you think about it. It's not healthy at all, right? Not from a longevity standpoint, right? For the moment, it's fine, right? You want to be a UFC fighter, that's fine. I mean, I'll take you to people that'll train you for that. Right? You're not going to come to my school and become a UFC fighter. You're not going to come to my school and be a world-class, even sparring competitor. Right? I'll teach you the basics and get you to a certain point, but then, in order for you to elevate to the next level, you have to go to a specialized school, specialized coach, right? And I can do that, and I do that. I know where my niche is, and I'm not going to change that because my niche seems to work. Right? I may evolve it a little bit, just like anything else. We have to learn how to adapt. You've learned how to adapt in the real estate industry. If you stuck to the old protocols and the old standards in today's day and age, you're gonna be floundering. And for me, at least, it was floundering for a little bit, but I've got this solid base. I've invested in the base. Really, that's what I'm investing in because I haven't had a lot of new people come in. It's been nice the last couple of weeks. I've gotten new faces coming in. And I've been able to close some deals. But generally, I've had to focus on my current base, right? And provide better instruction through that process. And so, some of the classes now, we're not doing the cardio like we used to, right? Now it's a little bit more slower pace where we're just kind of really focusing on the technique. Okay, we're going to work on down block today. I want you guys to work on this. I want you to show me this, all right? Yeah, right? But once again, and especially as an instructor, you want technique to be good, right? And that's the thing, right? And I always tell, the like previous instructors, like they would always be like, they don't want to instruct because they're afraid to get judged. And I told those individuals, why are you wearing that black belt? If you're not proud to wear that black belt, if you don't have the confidence enough to wear that black belt, then, right, you haven't done your part. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it boils down to is, can you walk into any place? Can you go somewhere and feel confident wearing your belt? Because there are people that are comfortable here, but then when all of a sudden, if they get invited to another school, they don't want to wear their belt. Right? And whose fault is that? Right? I mean, that's for anyone here, right? You should have that confidence knowing that you're wearing that belt. And if you got invited to another school, right, that when they see you and they know, maybe you can't kick high, but you have that knowledge to be able to explain what you're doing, right? The knowledge that a black belt would know, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's all about having that confidence in yourself, knowing that, hey, I deserve to wear this. Yeah, for the longest time, I had issues like that because I didn't have that knowledge base. So why do I invest so much knowledge now? I mean, I was telling Dason and Natalie, I was like, these guys have more knowledge in them right now than I did at their rink. Right? Because my instructor never invested all that. It was just more, of course, I had different instructors growing up because once my grandmaster left, it's like every year I was getting a new instructor. So I didn't have anyone from a longevity standpoint to mentor me or to do anything. So I relied on books. I didn't have, we didn't have YouTube back then, right? So I relied on books. I relied on, my mentor was in Korea half the time. He would come twice a year, right? He would bring his army. He was the coach of the all-army Taekwondo team back then. He started the program, right? He would come here twice a year. And then he would come and I'd be all excited. Yes, I get to train. And then he'd go, Honga, you need to help these kids. Because, whenever he came, everyone showed up. I mean, we had like 60 people in class because they wanted to train with him, right? And so he'd go, Honga, go work with the younger ones, the not so skilled ones. I'm going to work with the more advanced ones. So I never got to train. And I got mad because I was young and selfish. But then I realized what he was doing. He was just laying the foundation. Because I got to spend the time when he was here, I got to spend time eating and dissecting his brain. He was sharing information with me, and some of the things that we do in our training is from those experiences. I didn't get to physically train like I wanted to, but I got that knowledge, and even to this day, I mean, he's the one that helped me get all of this stuff, get everything set up, because otherwise we wouldn't have that opportunity. That's the one thing. When I first started this stuff, we were ITF. So we were certified through the ITF. Well, ITF back in the early 90s had big, the atom bomb went off in headquarters. There was a lot of fighting and so forth. We sent off applications for black belts and they never got processed. We sent them money 2 and 3 times, never got processed. So at that point there, we decided, okay, we're going to go to World Taekwondo or WTF at that time.
They dropped the F recently, didn't they?
Because of the acronym is not a.
I kind of liked it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, they didn't want to be associated with that acronym, so they changed that. Yeah. So, so we went to the WT side, and that's and then we had connections, so we were able to get things processed and so forth, and so that's where we've been all the time. But I haven't forgotten my roots. I haven't forgotten where I came from, because just like anything else, I obviously, you studied with Master Cabral, you had karate background and other instructors and so forth. I don't want you to forget what you learned there, because that's what's set up your foundation. I'm just adding to it. All right. For you guys, same thing. If you guys get to a point where you guys move on and you do your own thing or whatever, you have a foundation that you can say, hey, this is where I started from. All right. Miss Maya, same thing. You have a foundation with Master Sean and those guys out there, US Taekwondo Center. I don't want you to change that. I don't want you to forget about that. You know, you keep that going, right? I'm just enhancing, I'm building, I'm adjusting. I would never say, okay, yeah, whatever your instructor taught you, that's wrong. Because in certain cases, it's right. It's right for whatever you were learning at that time. Yeah. So. Right? I mean, and things have to change, just like anything else. For us, we have to continue to change, and that's why I'm investing in my time into you guys. But once again, for you two, you're going to have an easier time teaching than these two, right? Just because they're young. They're the ones in class a lot. And sometimes, same thing, you know, sometimes they see you in class and they can't differentiate if you're an instructor or if you're a student. All right? But the reality is that the student should know you're black belt. So black belt, regardless of whether you're a student or an instructor, should be respected, should be listened to. All right? But sometimes people don't understand that, especially with you guys. All right? So part of this is, where's your self-confidence? Where's your ability to be able to stand and be confident knowing that you're wearing this belt? See, for Natalie, it's easier now because she's forced into the role of teaching. She teaches a lot more. So, all right? For Dason, it's going to be a little bit harder, all right? Because they see you as an athlete, they see you as a student. They see you in class all the time training. They don't always get a chance to see you teaching. All right, so it's important for you to have that self-confidence, knowing what you're teaching, what you're going to do, and make sure that the student's doing it. All right. With the adults, it's always different. Right? There's always a perspective. Oh, it's an adult. I should listen. All right. Just like you guys, you know, even though you guys are higher ranked than these guys, all right, you guys have this sense of, I have to respect them. All right. If your parents brought you up in any proper way, then they know you need to respect your elders. All right? You need to respect them.
And we respect them back.
Of course, right? I mean, they know that, right? Adults know the difference, right?
We know you're higher ranked, so we.
Right? Right? Do any of the adults not listen to you? Huh? I mean, Mr. Ferrer is listening to Isaiah. Isaiah tell him, hey, you need to do this, and he's listening.
Yeah, he listens really well too.
He does, yeah.
He's just fun.
Yeah, you know, I mean, but see, as an adult, that's different, yeah? He tries to tell little Amir, or Ben, and it's like, it's just playtime, you know, for them. So it's very important to understand the role, and he's trying to, because he's watching what I do. He's watching what you guys as adults do, what Natalie does, and he wants to be in that same boat. He wants to be able to do that. So I see him walking around, pacing in between and trying to offer suggestions to people. All right. And some of the kids are great with him. They listen. You know, Mr. Ferrer's son, the same way. Yesterday he was teaching him how to spin on his foot for reverse spinning hook kick, because we spend a lot of time on reverse spinning hook kick, you know. And he stopped and goes, okay, sir. You know, and he started practicing what he told him. You know?
Proud dad moment.
No, not really.
Okay,
It's just him trying to, you know, because he knew that if he was just sitting there, I was going to get on him, because that's what he would prefer to do, is just sit there. So, because he follows the lead of his older sister at times. So, but needless to say, you know, going back to what we worked on, those basic blocks and so forth. Once again, teach it in that process. Start with the basic movement, right? What do we want to accomplish with the low block, right? Start from top to bottom. That's all we want, right? Don't worry about the wrist turn or anything, right? Get this motion. Inner block, get this motion. Knife hand block, get this motion. High block, get this motion, all right? Double forearm block, double knife hand block. Get this motion or get this motion to start. All right? Once again, 3 phases of learning. Just get the movement down. Get the general movement down. Then phase 2. Now we focus on detail. Once this becomes, you know, second nature to them, they know they got the position. Now we can start talking about, okay, where's the hand? Spacing. Okay. Now let's talk about this and this. Straight and circle. And we start adding all those details. And then basically when they get ready to test, they should be able to put the speed and power to it. And it should look like they're going to do it like performing for a tournament or something. They have the confidence, they have all the mechanics down. May not be exactly right, but getting better each time. So, and then obviously, depending on the age, right, you're only going to go so far. All right. So don't try to teach a 4-year-old, right? Pinky on the bottom, or thumb on the bottom, pinky on the top. Pull across and pull down. All right. You're just going to confuse them. All right. As long as they can get from here to here, that's okay. All right. Even if it's here. Even if it's here, that's okay. All right. And then eventually, once they understand the motion here, then you can start saying, okay, stop it here. Stop it here. Stop it here. Yeah. And then when they get, if they're still training when they're a green belt, then you can incorporate this part. Or at least this part where they're using both hands, even if there's no rotation. All right. Understanding your audience. Some 4-year-olds are going to pick it up really quick and you're going to be like, wow, that kid's pretty good. And then you give them a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. Always give students more. All right? Dangle the carrot out in front of them, right? So that they can keep moving forward. Don't just say, okay, oh yeah, Master Hong told me, okay, 4-year-olds, they can only do this part. All right? Well, this kid's already got this part. Why can't we teach him to twist? All right? There's nothing wrong with teaching him to twist. All right? Not this twist. All right? So, okay. Any questions? Anything? All right. That's good for today. Enjoy your long weekend, rest of the long weekend. The heat.